Welcome back to another AskJT, number 6. This time I thought I'd bring you a different view, a little outside patio area. I had to bring the motorcycle in because of the rain right now in California, but I'm going to have some extra questions because it's been a while since I've done one of these, so I figure I'd answer a little more than I usually do for y'all. Alright, so as always, I have questions from the last AskJT that I'm going to be answering right now. And this first one from Dan Daishara. He says, love your vids, man. You're getting better and better. You should have 10 times the amount of views you have and subscribers. Thanks. Now, I just wanted to use this as an example because I always try to improve myself. I always try to better myself. You know, you should never, once you hit that plateau, whatever plateau it is, whether mentally, physically for you, you always have to try to exceed that and keep pushing and pushing your expectations and limits. Now, for instance, like with making these videos, I started with iMovie back in the day, moved on to Final Cut Pro, right, for editing software, figured I'd learn it, pick it up, it would be beneficial to me in the future. That was something I didn't have to do, right, investing in better equipment, you know, microphones, better cameras, be more comfortable in front of the camera, letting more of my personality, whatever it is, you should always be trying to improve yourself no matter what it is. Question number 2, Chris Hira says, hello JT, currently working out to get some gains before boot camp. My question is there any point in getting these gains, or am I going to lose them once I get out of boot camp? Now, there is something they say about boot camp. The fat guys get skinny, the skinny guys get fat. I was skinny, I gained a lot of weight. A lot of the bigger people, yeah, they lost a lot of weight and mass and bulk, because you're not obviously going to be taking the same protein intake. If you're like working out, taking protein, pre-workout, whatever you're doing before you go to boot camp, you're not going to be able to do that in boot camp. And obviously you're going to be limited to the amount of food you eat because you only have a certain amount of time. You can't really go back and get seconds. And the food isn't really the best type of food if you're trying to keep all that calorie intake and protein and stuff and your size, because also you're not going to be able to work out. You're not going to be able to, when I say workout, you're not going to be able to lift weights. So a lot of your stuff is just going to be cardiovascular, a lot of push-ups, a lot of sit-ups. So you're really not going to be able to maintain that bulk that you get if you're lifting. So yes, you are going to lose some size, but I mean, I guess you can look at it as a chance to cut and get leaner. But yeah, don't. But I would still recommend working out and trying to get in the best shape you can before boot camp. But yeah, Tommy Lang says, who would win in a rap battle between Yellow Wolf and G-Eazy, because you look like both? You know, I'm going to actually have to go with my boy Marshall Mathers. I was born and raised on Eminem, listening to it since I was a little kid, even though he has some pretty fucked up lyrics. I don't know, since I was like 9. I think that was the first CD. The Super Fedora Guys asks, are you allowed cameras on deployment? Yes, to an extent. You do have to get it approved if you're going to be carrying around, like walking around with a camera on the flight deck. There is a place called the Crow's Nest or something on the island on an aircraft carrier. There's a place where you can go in up and take pictures. You just have to make sure you have hearing protection on and eye protection. If you work on the flight deck and you want to go out there and get some pictures, you obviously have to be flight deck qualified or with somebody that's flight deck qualified, and you have to get permission from flight deck control to have your camera out there, or you can get permission from your command or squadron if you're with one. My buddy and myself, we had GoPros, and he had a GoPro that he strapped, I want to say, to around his chest, the chest mount, and he was going out there on the flight deck getting footage. My LPO had a really nice DSLR, and he would go and get pictures of us during flight ops, during our helo flight ops. So yeah, you can have cameras, you just got to get them approved. This question actually reminded me of a funny story. I know you guys want to hear some stories and shit, so 5745 Aftermath says, can I box or do MMA or wrestle while I'm in the Navy? When I was stationed in Japan, we did have a grappling gym with like a really nice mat and stuff and bags and all that, and some of the guys, myself, we would go and, you know, spar and wrestle, roll around. There is really nothing on the ship, but on the Lincoln, on my first deployment, some of the AOs and myself and some of the other guys from the airframe shop, there was this one room where there was a bunch of stationary bicycles, and then there was a bunch of the yoga mats, and basically nobody used these fucking yoga mats, and there was a shitload of them in this room all stacked up, so we spread them all out in this little compartment, and we would grapple in there. And that's actually how I fucked up my nose. I don't know if you guys can really tell, but it was broke, and I never really got it. I never really went to medical for it. I never really did anything for it because it kind of happened during one of those wrestling matches. Question number, I don't really remember, but while you were on a ship, or Richard Stewart asks, while you were on a ship, was there any big storms, big waves? Weren't you scared of the ship ever going down? Now, on an aircraft carrier, it takes a huge storm for you to feel it on a carrier, because it's fucking huge. It's like a floating city. There were a couple times when the flight deck was secured, and myself working on the flight deck and being part of a squadron, we are probably put in some of the sketchiest positions in scenarios, because flight ops on carriers, especially if you're on a combat deployment, we're going to keep flying the helos and the jets and doing flight ops and trying to make sorties and missions till the last minute possible. Like, they're going to fucking keep going and going and going until it's like really fucking dangerous and we really have to secure the flight deck. So when you have to secure the flight deck in a big storm, you have to go up on the flight deck and you have to chain all the aircraft down with 18 to 20 chains on the tie down points. So normally you only have, to tie the aircraft down with, I want to say 10 to 12. But during heavy weather, you have to fucking do double that, and you have to go up there in the fucking rain, in the big ass waves with the ships moving and fucking rocking around, and tie down all the aircraft and fucking get off the deck as soon as you can. Because there were times when you're in your compartment working on the flight deck, most compartments have a little old school TV that displays the flight deck and everything that's going on in like live time. And you can see on the camera, as we got off the deck, waves started coming up and cresting over the fucking bow of the ship, which is like 80, 90 feet high. Waves were crashing over, got salt water all over the jets, and that fucking sucks for corrosion control, because you have to do so many fucking wash jobs and all these specials and shit. It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, during the big storms, if you work on the flight deck, shit can get, like, it's fun. Like, it's a lot of adrenaline. Like, it's like crazy that the fucking Mother Nature can move this big ass warship so much, and it makes you feel like so small and weak, but it's fun. I mean, I thought it was pretty fun. All right, this last one, I'm just kind of curious. This last question, Matthew Swen says, yo, just graduated on the 18th. Congrats, brother. Welcome. And he said, LMFAO, I met somebody in my division that watched your videos too and went by fast as fuck. Thanks for all the videos. Yeah, that's what I hear mostly from you guys, is that it went by really fast, and you'll kind of always, like, I look back at it and I'm like, fuck, like, boot camp went by like that. Like, it's nothing compared to in the grand scheme of things. So, most people look back at boot camp with, like, kind of like a chuckle and smile and like, fuck, like, that fucking sucked. But it was, it was boot camp. It is what it is. I'm just interested if my videos, if you've watched them and you've gotten through boot camp and now you're in the fleet, let me know in the comments, and I'm just curious to see how many people are the numbers. Also, guys, pretty big announcement. I'll kind of give you a little sneak peek into it. I might be working with the official Navy YouTube channel very soon on a pretty fun project that I could release more info about probably in the next week or two, or definitely within the next month. But some big stuff is on the horizons here for the channel and for me and for you guys, and some awesome content will be very soon coming our way. All right, guys, have a good one. Social media and stuff below. Millie Moo, say bye. 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 My name is Millie Moo. Millie Moo too. All right, later.